Welcome to lesson number 3 from 3 work. Under classification being the heading, we are now looking at kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae basically comprise of plants of different types. These plants have the following characteristics. 1. They are eukaryotic. When I say an organism is eukaryotic, I'm referring to the fact that its nuclear material is bound by the nuclear membrane. The opposite of eukaryotic is prokaryotic. Therefore, prokaryotic organisms are those whose nuclear material is not bound by the nuclear membrane. Characteristic number 2, in most of these plants, they have their body divided into 3. That is roots, stem, and the leaves. Characteristic number 3, they have cellulose cell wall. Meaning, in addition to cell membrane, these organisms have cellulose cell wall. Number 4, they are autotrophic. Autotrophic organisms are those that are able to make their own food. These organisms make their own food through the process of photosynthesis, and maybe for some few which make through the process of chemosynthesis, that is use of some chemicals instead of sunlight. Characteristic number 5, and that is the last one, they reproduce both sexually and asexually. Kingdom Plantae, I'm going to divide it further into 3 divisions. That makes us to reach a certain division called division Bryophyta. Division Bryophyta comprises of these 2 major organisms. I hope you are able to see here. Division Bryophyta comprises of these organisms, that is the moss plant and the liverwort. When you look at the moss plant, it comprises of some regions such as the rhizoid. I hope you are able to see the rhizoid clearly. There it is. When you look at the rhizoid, it forms the root. It forms the root of this plant over here, and they are majorly meant for the process of absorption and anchorage as well. They enable the plant to hold firmly onto the ground. They enable the plant to hold firmly onto the ground, that is wherever they are growing. And it also contains the stem up here. I hope you're able to see this stem over here. It also comprises of various leaves. This is a leaf, this is another leaf, these ones are leaves. It also contains a part called achegonia. Achegonia is the female part that is referred to as the gametophyte. Achegonia is surrounded by very many leaves. That is basically to enable photosynthesis to take place at a higher rate and increase the amount of food which is being produced so that it is used by the female part, that is achegonia. We have the male part which is referred to as the sporophyte, and that male part comprises of the capsule and the seta. When the achegonia matures, it produces some spores which are later released out through the capsule. When that spore drops down onto a wet ground with enough nutrient, it will still germinate, hence forming another moss plant, and that cycle will continue like that. And that process is referred to as sporulation because it is by the means of spores. We also have another type of plant which belongs to division bryophyta, which is referred to as the liverwort. The liverwort is here. I hope you're able to see this diagram as well. There we go. This diagram over here comprises of two parts, that is the male and the female part. The male part here, which is referred to as the antheridia, and we have the female part called the archegonia. Antheridia is the part that produces the male gamete, while the archegonia produces the female gamete, upon which they form spores, and the spore is capsulated on the topmost part here that I call the capsule. The capsule and the seta forms sporophyte, just like when I was talking about the moss plant. So the sporophyte basically forms the male part. It forms the male part whose role is to produce the male gamete. That marks the end of division bryophyta, and let me now check on this other division called Terenophyte. We have already looked at division bryophyta, and for the case of division bryophyta, we say that it comprises of two major types of plants, that is liverworts and the moss plant. I would like us to look at division Terenophyta. Division Terenophyta comprises of examples of plants such as fan plant and hostel. They are non-flowering. When you look at the structure of a fan plant, this is the fan plant for that matter, it comprises of the rhizome, which forms the root part, and on top of it there are some small adventitious roots which enables firm anchorage onto the ground, as well as absorption of water and mineral salts. It also comprises of the frond. Frond is the young part of the leaf, which has not yet developed fully. And when you look at this leaf, these leaves, it comprises of some small parts which we call the pinna. These leaf pinna, are the ones which comprise of some parts which are referred to as sori in plural. In singular, we call them the soras. Sori are the spore-bearing structures. They bear spores, and therefore they are the reproductive parts of this fan plant, which belong to division Terenophyta. It is able to reproduce through the process of sporulation as well, because remember, it is non-flowering. It does not reproduce sexually, but asexually through the process of sporulation, whereby the spores are produced by these structures here that I have called sori. And apart from that, we are yet to look at another different division, that is division spermatophyta. And for now, that marks the end of this lesson. Let's meet in our next lesson, whereby I'll be looking at division spermatophyta. Thank you for watching.